Hi, my name is Alyssa Cuffy Anoaha, and you are listening to the Durham Artist Archive. This is where we tell the story of Durham through the eyes of artists. Let's get into it. Hi, welcome back to the Durham Artist Archive. This is Alyssa Cuffy Anoaha, and today I am really excited to share space with the extremely talented Wutang McDougal. Now, I'm going to let you introduce yourself. Tell me a little bit about your arts practice and your background.
Yes. Well, first off, thank you for having me here. I'm a visual artist, storyteller, graphic designer, multimedia artist, queer Black artist here in Durham. And yeah, my work is around my community, around Afrofuturism, and also very like rebellious too. Yeah.
I like that. Before we get into it, I want to ask you, what's one thing that made you happy today?
Oh, something that's made me happy today has been really just I got an acceptance letter for this show coming up next month called Dolly Weird. That's going to be at PS37. It's a whole Dolly Parton inspired show, and I submitted a sketch for it because my piece is still in the works of being finished. And yeah, it was still accepted, so I felt really happy about that to not only get it but also to be able to share it with my friends and have them, like turn up for me as well.
That's so exciting. What did you submit for the show?
Yeah, so I submitted a sketch of my vision for my piece, which is to have Dolly's face in a compact mirror, which I'm going to build. And then the outer rim will say it costs a lot to look this cheap. And I was trying to figure out like what way to go into this piece, and then when I heard that quote, that's when it all clicked for me, and I was like, this is a way for it to all be a whole piece instead of anything that's going to be like separate.
I love that idea, and that's going to be a 3D piece? That's not an illustration.
Yes, it's going to be a 3D piece. I enjoy making like larger pieces that, you know, that includes like cardboard or anything you can find at a scrap exchange, honestly, which is where I will be going to get all of my materials for this one. But yes, my plan is to build this compact mirror that's going to feature her face in there. And yeah, I'm thinking about making it as big as I can because I think it'd be really cool as a hanging wall piece as well.
Yeah, something else I heard in that as well is you following your intuition with the piece. And I also think I heard research. What was that like for you in getting ready for the proposal?
Yeah, so getting ready for the proposal, I did my own research of what Dolly Weir has done before. And yeah, just seeing what other folks have submitted, which is what I do with a lot of my work. I see what's already out there and then try to create something that's completely different, something that folks wouldn't expect. I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of the same references. I need something that is not going to be the same one that we've seen on a shirt or a poster. Yeah.
I love that. And that ties to your rebellious streak as well, right?
Yeah, I would say that it does because I'll see like a way that you could go with a piece, and then I'm just like, no, let's do something completely different, like something that's gonna be just like on the outer rim of what other folks are thinking. Yeah.
And I actually really like that we started here because it's opening my mind, or it's it is expanding my vision of you more because I really think of you as a illustrationist, a graphic designer, and I know you've done 3D work before. I know you've done a lot of work with this graph exchange, but in my mind, the connection is Wutang graphic design.
Hmm.
So to hear about more of your 3D works and hearing your process behind it is really neat as well. So I kind of want to dig a little bit more into that if you're
Yeah,
open.
yeah, most
I'd
definitely.
love to hear more about your collaborations with this graphic exchange too, because I know you've done a lot of stuff there.
Hmm.
There.
Yeah, so when I was in college, I went to the Art Institute, and one of my good friends, Dallas, we,
Can I? I'm
oh,
so sorry
sorry.
to interrupt you. What is the full name of the school? Because I wasn't aware there's an art institute in this area. You've mentioned it to me before, but I hadn't heard of it before.
Got you. Yeah. So the Art Institute was at the American Tobacco campus, right
Mm.
next to Mellow Mushroom. It was like three floors.
Hmm.
And yeah, through Art Institute, that's how I got connected to the Scrap Exchange.
Mm.
Yeah. So my good friend Dallas and I were on the board of the Scrap Exchange when it was at Golden Belt.
Mm.
The assignment we were given was to create these tunnels that like went through the store, or like because there's so many aisles, like there was at least 12 aisles of things that you would walk through. We had this idea of having them all connected where kids who were small enough could crawl through, but each tunnel would look completely different. So there would be a tunnel that was the inside was like shiny like a disco ball.
Mm.
And then another tunnel would have like colorful paper that would kind of just like dangle through. And yeah, I feel like that was the start of my 3D journey with the Scrap Exchange, and just having it available as well too, like every part of it available, I was able to do even more.
So you went to the Art Institute here in Durham. Is that what brought you to Durham? Were you did you grow up here? What's kind of your relationship to the city?
Okay, story time. So I've actually lived here since 2009.
Mm.
College is what brought me here. I am also from Leesburg, North Carolina, and there really isn't anything happening out there. It's like it's super small. But when I was growing up, my mom would bring me to Durham a lot so I could go thrifting here,
Mm.
and then that's how I was like introduced to Durham. And yeah, like when I was graduated from high school, like had an opportunity to go to SCAD
Hmm.
or to go to the Art Institute, and they had just opened one here. My high school art teacher had gone to the Art Institute. The one in Chicago suggested that I go to the one in Durham.
Mm.
It was close enough, so I did it.
That's awesome.
Hmm.
And when we spoke last time, I was asking you about how much Durham has changed, but you also spoke about how much has stayed the same to you.
Yes, I would say that like when I moved here, I felt that that was the start of, the major growth that we see, today here in Durham. I remember the biggest news that folks were focused on was West Village,
Mm.
those apartments, and I actually lived in a Tom's building at one point when I first moved here. It was something else to see like this place grow, the ways that folks were utilizing like housing here, especially like the mill like apartments, and also to see like how much had developed around the American Tobacco campus as well too, because
Hmm.
like it looked like going to the Art Institute was there, so like it was just like gorgeous, like having all of this brick, all of these like open spaces and like shops there. And of course having like a whole like riverway and waterfall through
Mm-hmm.
there as well too. Yeah, that was something else. And yeah, I remember sharing with you about the things that are, you know, those are things that have definitely changed. But I also remember like coming here like 8 years old and seeing there's this one laundromat in particular that is on like 15.5 North that is like still there, which is like one that I went to growing
Mm-hmm.
up. Right next door to that is this Taco Bell that has always been there. I would even say that it's gone now, but the AMC theater that was on MLK was another one that I went to when I was growing up. It was something else to have gone there when I was 8 years old and then still be going there to see like the Barbie movie there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's wild to think about, to kind of compare the two.
Hmm. You're making me think about a lot of things. It's really nice to be able to go back to the places I grew up with.
Hmm.
And as much as I want to see, I think I'm thinking about my hometown of Milwaukee. As much as I want to see it grow and evolve and change, it's doing all those things. It's also really comforting to go back to those same places that I grew up with, like you mentioned, and be able to find comfort and solace in that space. There was a movie theater as well that I had my 13th, 14th birthday party at whenever Hunger Games came out.
Hmm.
And it had a really good pizza place attached to it. And that's just the movie theater I went back to all the time. And I'm pretty sure it's still there. If I went home now, I'm sure I could go back. But whenever I go back to those places now, because I don't live in that area, it feels super nostalgic. And I'm curious for you how that experience is since you still live in the same place that you've been visiting your whole life.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It does, yes. Um, I would say that I also still feel that nostalgia
Mm.
as well to just think back on that of just like those days of thrifting
Mm-hmm.
in those spaces and like what it was like and the experience of doing these activities with my folks as well. And also to be able to share that nostalgia with them. It's like, hey, I went to Luna last night, but guess what? That same Chuck E. Cheese is still there from since we were kids.
Mm-hmm.
So it is very nice to see that is, these spaces are still there.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's awesome. Tell me about your time in school. I'm curious about why illustration or like how did you come to the arts?
Yeah. So in high school, I was really doing a lot of the work that I'm doing now. Like I was taking an internship in graphic
Mm-hmm.
design. I was already illustrating on the computer, and I had the programs because my dad was doing graphic design for the Herald Sun.
Mm.
Um, so I had the opportunity to do that actually on one of those iMac computers, the
Mm-hmm.
ones that were like clear and came in different colors.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I had to do like Photoshop and things on. And I actually still have it. Kind of think about it. I had been drawing my entire life, and I was in high school. I was trying to think of what is the next step in my art. Where do I go? I'd taken this internship in graphic design, and then my dad and also my art teacher had suggested that I continue on this pathway. I was already analog and building things and was like painting. I was doing pottery. I
Mm-hmm.
was like developing my own film. And I was still able to do all of those things and also the digital side of art as well too.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. So you were like a child prodigy. It just you were painting coming out the womb.
Hmm. Yeah, it was like I just remember there was something I wanted my it was like a character or something that I wanted my dad to draw, and it's a very talented fine artist, and he drew it exactly how it looked,
Hmm.
but it wasn't how I envisioned it and how I wanted to look. So then I was just like, no, like he didn't. I was like, no, that's not how. That's not what I wanted. And it was just like, I'm gonna draw it. So
Yeah.
then that's when I feel like that was a step for me growing up of like the vision that I have, I'm able to do that. I'm able to communicate what I'm feeling through my art.
Hmm.
And I feel like that was like a huge step in me becoming an artist.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I think that is the hardest part for me about visual art because sometimes I want to draw and I have very clear vision in my mind, but when it comes to actually drawing it, the vision in my mind does not translate to my hand.
Hmm.
And so the horse that I pictured up here, I'm not picturing a real life horse, right? I'm seeing how this pencil horse should look on the page of pencil, but my hand is not following the directions.
Hmm.
But I feel like for you, it translates perfectly. It translates really well. And I think that ties to you having such a strong, distinct voice and style in your illustrations.
Thank you.
I was stalking you on Instagram earlier. If you saw that like on an image from 2022, that was why. But I was like, these images are 5, 7 years old, and they look like they could have been done like months ago. And not to say that your skill hasn't grown, because it absolutely has, but to say that it still looks like your work and like the quality has been there all this time that you've been working. So I'm really curious how you were able to develop that. How were you able to develop your distinct illustration and drawing, graphic design style?
Yeah, thank you for saying all of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been thinking about this. I feel like my style changes kind of a lot,
Mm.
depending, well, of course, like in graphic design, depending on the project. Um, but also my personal work has changed too,
Mm-hmm.
especially because before I was creating these portraits in these different ways where like colors were overlapping. And by doing that, it was showing a lot of composition, definition. And that's what I was doing through Illustrator. But then when I moved to Procreate and I was able to
Mm.
draw like directly on my iPad, I feel like that's when my work became more of like painting and like airbrushes than like digital art.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I feel like it fluctuates all the time depending on what the project is or what the feel of it is or where I am in my art in that moment too. Like even for the Dolly projects, I know that that's going to be a style that will be mine, but it will probably look way different than the piece that I did of Gemini will look like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And I know exactly what you're referencing. You did a piece for Wonder Puff
Hmm.
using an airbrush brush, I
Yes.
guess, on Procreate, and that looked so cool. It was still colorful, and even though the lines themselves were airbrushed and not literally crisp, there was still a like a technicality to it that I felt I could see
Hmm.
that in your older work is there because it is more not line art, but like you were saying, deals more with composition and it's got the different layers of color blocks and things like that.
Right.
I just like seeing all of that and seeing your style evolve from project to project and seeing how you did a piece recently
Hmm.
and I'm coming up, I hate to say analyzing because that feels cold, but just
Obs-
deciphering, yeah, observing
observing.
the
Yeah.
work. And so I was thinking, oh, Wu is kind of creating shadows in really interesting ways without necessarily shading. You know,
Hmm.
it's the shadows are color blocks. It's not gradients fading. But then you proved me wrong because you had one recently that looked more hand drawn,
Hmm.
which was really cool. And I was like, you just keep surprising me. I just like all that. Do you have any comments, thoughts?
Um, I feel like something that ties like all the work together is definitely like the colors. And what I mean by that is like I I really love pink.
Mm-hmm.
So like I feel like I use a lot of that in each one of my pieces. It's always like pink, teal, green, and maybe like yellow. But yeah, it's like pink and teal are just like It's just so good. Like those are just like my favorites. So like yeah, I feel like that's something that I've included in each piece that makes it all mine. And before I was doing this thing where I was creating these like visual portals. So like each piece was connected. Like I have one
Mm,
piece that Janelle Monáe, I did
yeah.
of Janelle Monáe. She has this earring that is in the shape of a triangle,
Mm,
but everything in this piece is like it's all pink and it's
mm,
all like it's pink and brown, except for that one spot which was like white and it was glowing. But then that was like in a way this portal that was connecting to like another piece that I did of Aurelie from Cocoa Cinnamon, where there's like another like
oh.
point in there where there is a portal. I believe it's in the mass, just unraveling,
Mm-hmm.
where that was just like another portal. And even in Gemini's piece, there's this distinct ring that she would wear all the time. I turned that into a portal too, where it looks like it would be this cutout of space, but then I would have other pieces that would have a space background in there. So it's almost like they could exist in the same universe together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. The lore is so deep. Is this documented somewhere? No. Okay, so this
I
is, and
was
I feel like because even though those pieces are quote unquote a little older, I'm just a ball of ideas and you can like take this or throw this away. But I feel like there's opportunity there to revisit those and
absolutely.
make. I'm all about zines, but just like put that in a little 10-page booklet of all the ones tied together and just say what they are. And I'm sure people will buy those. Like people love your work so much. And to know that because that Gemini piece is so well known. I mean, that was on a big banner. People have that piece on t-shirts. It's everywhere.
Hmm.
And to know that it's tied to other pieces in your collection is amazing.
Yeah. I mean, like it probably isn't relevant, but I was just thinking about this. That piece of Gemini, I didn't ask anything for it. I
Mm,
just felt called to make it. And I remember making it. And then when I got to the end, I was just like, okay, did I even ask Gemini if they would want this? Like, did I even ask them for consent to use this image to make something for them? And I just sat on it for a year.
really?
And then I think it was when Instagram had introduced like the, ask me like anything,
Mm,
like little gadget thing. That's when I asked Gemini. I was just like, hey, like I made this piece is literally halfway done. I just need to like add color to it. Would it be okay, like, if I did it and then like you could have it? And it was like, what are your favorite colors? And she mentioned that like she also enjoys like pink and teal and green and yellow. And then when I had that, yeah, when I had those colors locked in, that's when it all came together. And that was just my gift to her to utilize like as much as possible,
mm.
to uplift her as much as possible.
I just got like
Mm.
a chill from that because that feels like another example of you following your intuition. It's good that you got consent, but the confirmation or affirmation of Gemini responding to you and saying, my favorite colors are your favorite colors.
Hmm.
And so working on this piece, you again got to work with colors that you love and create something for someone that you love and admire, and I
Uh,
just think that's all super aligned.
oh
Yeah.
my gosh, yeah, I felt very aligned and also like very happy to know that like that is, Gemini is timeless, and this piece will be as well.
Hmm.
It's something that they can just continue to use like for forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a timeless piece as well. But speaking of projects with people you love, you've been doing graphic design for an iconic podcast with someone you love for Sister Song on their Fuck, Marry, Kill podcast, right?
Yes.
Can you tell me how that opportunity came to be and what kind of work you've been doing for them?
Yeah, one of my best friends, Simran Jan, is very well known, definitely a celebrity, and also super connected to Sister Song in her work. Is always telling me that I'm her favorite artist,
Mhm.
and reached out to me to do branding around their events as well as their podcast. Before we had this idea of having Simran's head be on there, and then like another, and it's like a portrait of her head because
Mhm.
I do a lot of portraits, but also to have each speaker have their profile on there as well too. And yeah, it's something that I enjoy. They've just given me so much creative freedom
Mhm.
to design it how I would want. I get to choose the palette and the colors, and it also aligns with their vision as well too. Yeah, so yeah, we've been working together for 2 maybe 3 years now for the Fuck Mary Kill podcast. I've been doing the branding around that for um at least a year now.
Mhm.
Yeah, because we're on our second season right now.
Hey.
So all platforms.
Yes. Yes, I totally want to plug Fuck Mary Kill because I know Simran. I've hung out with Simran and she's really great. And I didn't realize Simran is low key a celebrity. I told you this before, but I went to Essence Fest this year
Hmm.
with a friend of mine, and Simran was literally a headliner, like having a live podcast recording at Essence Festival. And I was like, what the hell? Like, that is so dope. So it's just so cool to know that you never know who you're around. You never know who your friends are. Like, you know who they are in a personal perspective, but you don't always know like what they do professionally.
Hmm.
And I just think that's really dope. And then even for you to like be doing all their branding, because I've definitely been seeing all of the posts that she puts out, and I'm like, dang, I'm like, these illustrations are nice. And so I'm like, well, of course it was you. I should have known by the style, like we talked about before. But not only have you done their branding, but I mean, I guess this is tied to branding, but you've done like a bus for them. How was that
Yes.
experience?
Yes, it was great. I've had this experience before for a project for the town of Chapel Hill.
Mm-hmm.
I designed a bus for Pride during the lockdown, which was rolling around from 2021 to 2022. And it said, Can't Stop Pride. So I had a little experience wrapping a bus. When they came to me about designing their van, I'd already had that experience doing it.
Yeah.
And something that clicked for me was that it was a bus tour, and it's called the Reproductive Justice Bus Tour. I was trying to visualize how it was going to look, and I just had this idea of the letters being illustrative and fun, and also how to design reproductive justice is like, because that word is like, it's very long.
Yeah.
And when I kept looking at it and I kept moving things around, I realized that I had like shaped it in the shape of a heart without thinking
Mm.
about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was just like, okay, this is good. I was just like, yeah, let's just keep going in this direction. And then gradually it just kept on going. And yeah, I stuck with those. Like I mentioned, those same colors that I enjoy, like the pink and teal, added purple in there because that was a blend of it. And
Mm-hmm.
then, yeah, it just all came to be. And that work was not only able to go on their bus, but then also like all of their other merch too that they were
Mm.
giving out on this tour.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that looked so cool. I saw they had t-shirts and tote bags. And what's really cool about that as well is, and this is not exclusive to your work with Sister Song, but so many of the illustration and graphic design projects you've done seem to have had like long lives, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
So referencing the Gemini piece, referencing Sister Song, referencing the poster you did for Pierce Freelon when he was
Yes.
running for mayor. Like, you have done work at a really high professional level that's been put up and like reused in a variety of ways. Will Smith reposted one of your images
Yes.
that you made for Rofiwa bookstore, I believe.
Yes, it was. So Refua reached out to me because they heard, or like they were connected to the publishing house. It's like Pendulum
Mm-hmm.
Publishing House because Will Smith was coming out with his book named Will.
Mm-hmm.
He was reaching out to different artists throughout the country to create art to promote his book. So we each got a little passage from it. And then from that, we designed a piece based on the words we got. I think it was like we were all handed a paragraph
Mm-hmm.
to read over and then design something for it. It was very nice to. No, there's an even bigger word. It was amazing to have had that connection, to have a person with his status as an
Mm-hmm.
art, like, not only reach out about the work, but then also like repost it.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. So maybe I have two questions here. My
Mm-hmm.
first question is what has that experience like been seeing your work be so appreciated and get so much visibility?
Yeah, it. I feel like sometimes it's overwhelming, like of course, of like joy, and it also makes you think about like your work's journey or
Mm,
like your journey that you've been on, where just thinking back on where my work was when I first started doing it to where it is now, where I was kind of like putting out the work myself, but then now having folks seek you out for it is definitely a great feeling. I feel something else to share that maybe some folks know and also resonate with too is that I do experience imposter syndrome
mm-hmm.
a lot where, yeah, I'm like very hard on myself of just like, is this work? Is this work doing it? Is it impactful? All of these things is kind of like your internal voice can be like so loud sometimes. But I am grateful for the folks that like pull me out of that and say that like, yes, this is amazing. This is perfect. You don't have to do anymore. Like
Yeah.
like you don't have to add it anymore. So yeah, receiving affirmations like that has been like very helpful. But yeah, that is something that I do experience sometimes.
Yeah. I feel that the imposter syndrome is real. And even when I think about you came to Durham in 2009 for college. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you've been doing art well before then. You had internships in high school. The 2009 is almost 15 years ago. I'm not good at math, but I just think about like, yeah, that's a long career. You've accomplished a lot. There's always someone else doing more, you know?
Hmm.
And how I've been trying to reframe imposter syndrome for myself is that, or I went to my school, which, is a privilege to like go to college. I went to my college, but like was in an internship with a girl who went to Harvard. I'm like,
Hmm.
oh my God, like that girl went to Harvard. But then I had to reframe it and say, well, that girl went to Harvard and we're in the same place, you know? And I wonder, and not to discount her either, but just to say both of our efforts brought us here and like that's good and valid. Like that's where we both wanted to be. And I'm thinking about how, as artists and from a creative perspective, how we might be able to use a similar reframing for ourselves.
Hmm.
I don't have the answer,
Hmm.
but those are some of the things you made me think about. Another question for you, since we were kind of talking about some of the impact you've had in Durham, which is significant, just with how your art's shown up all around the city and how you've really been kind of a staple here in the creative scene. I'm curious about what else you imagine for the future of Durham's creative scene.
Yeah, I would love to see. I'm always thinking and reminded of the Carrick when it
Mm,
was here, which was a zero commission art space that was on West Paris Street and then eventually moved closer to East Durham, like in the Golden Belt district. And I would love to see more zero commission art spaces like that downtown.
Mm.
I feel that there's so many artists that have like, you know, many things to offer. Definitely artists that deserve the opportunity to be seen. Because I understand of like, having to put your work into an art space and then not receiving full compensation
Mm.
for, for your work. Because like if it's going into a space that, they're probably going to ask you for a percentage. So to have more spaces like that here in Durham, and it's not that it can't happen. It's just like we've got the money.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would love to see more of that. And I'd also like to say that I may be missing out on spaces that are doing that work already,
Mm-hmm.
as we speak. So that's what I would love to see. I would love to see artists getting paid.
Period.
I need all these artists to get paid because, like, you know, um, we deserve it. We deserve it, and we need it in order to keep doing our work, doing the things that we do. That's what I want to see more of in Durham.
Yeah.
In terms of art. I would also love to see like more art installs, like even more murals now too.
Mm-hmm.
There's the parking deck that is across the street from 21C that has like these giant banners that are in
Mm-hmm.
front of it. I remember before that like they were being swapped out with like artist work, and I would love to see it happen again because I feel like that same banner's been up there for years now.
Yes.
So
Yes, it
like,
has.
so
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it would be great to have some fresh art there. Even repurposing those same banners, like those could be painted over. So yeah, I would love to see that here.
Yeah, I love those ideas. I'm also curious your thoughts on how we might. I feel like the scrap exchange already does so much good work,
hmm
but where do we see more space for scrappy 3D, like weird work like that?
More space for work, like the scrap exchange, like.
Yeah, like, cause I think they have such unique 3D work
Mhm.
that I don't see other places have space for, if that makes sense.
Yes, I feel one space I'm thinking of is on Main Street. It's part of 21C. They have these large glass spaces there. I would love to see that space utilize 3D art, and even 21C itself, if it was showcasing more local art there than outsourcing it. And something to mention is that I'm a skater, and I'm
Yeah.
usually skating around all these different places. So when I see like buildings that are like office buildings that are like just been sitting for lease for years, I'm like, that should be an art space right there. It's like accessible to anyone with disabilities,
Mm.
and it's accessible as far as price for people to submit their work, and it's just like, yeah, getting a hold to those spaces and transforming them into a dream art gallery.
I think about that a lot too. All of the empty storefronts and what happens with them and why and what businesses go into them
hmm
and who makes those decisions. I don't know anything about city planning or what field that even is, but it's an area I'd be curious to learn more about.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for this time, Wu. I feel like we had such a good conversation. I learned a lot more about you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you have anything you'd like to promote? Anything you want to share? Where can folks find you?
Yes, I would like to say that folks can see more of my work on my Instagram page, which is Wutang McDougal, and that's Wutang without a dash and McDougal.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also the same name as my website. So there's also WutangMcDougal.com where you can see more of my work there. I would also love to promote Sister Songs podcast, Fuck Mary Kill, and I encourage anyone to tune in on any platform. The work is based around something that we like that is vital to many folks right now, which is reproductive justice and freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I also would like to shout out to you for having me here today, and also to anyone who has been there for me to uplift me, either through my art or my life personally. I'm grateful for you.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much for that, Woo. I will say my challenge for today will be to
Yeah, what you got?
listen to Fuck, Marry, Kill. That's your
Yeah.
challenge. Look it up, listen to it, and remember to like and rate this podcast wherever you listen to it. And look us up on Substack. If you find me on Substack, you'll find a slew of essays that are also associated with this podcast. So thank you so much for your time and have a great day.